Hello, my nerdy Facebook friends. I just wanted to take a moment uh, while I am here on my lunch break, enjoying a monster. I was thinking, and what I was thinking about was The Last Jedi. Star Wars Episode 8. I know it's been 2 years, but in honor of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, I wanted to have this argument one more time. I wanted to know why, oh, why was Luke Skywalker turned into an absolute cowardice, surly old man? Now, I am in this Star Wars group called Star Wars Geeks of the World Unite, and some people tried to give me a couple arguments. Some dudes said, "Oh, you people didn't like the Last Jedi, even though Luke went out like a like like a better than Obi-Wan." And I'm like, "Did he? Be- Better than Obi-Wan?" You know the part, the legendary part where Obi-Wan says, "If you strike me down, Lord Vader, I will become more powerful than you could ever imagine." How was what Luke did? How did that top Obi-Wan Kenobi? Obi-Wan went out saving Luke, facing his old apprentice. Actually physically facing him, like went on the Death Star to face him. His apprentice that he failed. Luke did not. Did not go face Kylo. He could have lifted his X-wing out the water and went into hyperspace and flew to where the fuck they was at, because apparently everybody knew, because Rey automatically knew where they were at when she had no way of knowing, and she just showed up. You with the sequel trilogy, see, a lot of people were mad about The Force Awakens being a rehash of Episode 4. And I really didn't see it that way. Yes, there were a lot of similarities, but the characters were very different. I thought Kylo Ren and Rey and Finn were very interesting. There was a point where I thought Finn was gonna have the Force, but even if he didn't, he still could have been a cool character. They buried his character Episode 8. They give us no explanation to Rey in Episode 8. They don't give us any explanation. They didn't even give us like a real war. It was some fucking chase scene with like why couldn't the Star Destroyer catch up to the Resistance cruiser? That was the dumbest thing in the world. When the Empire Strikes Back, the Star Destroyers were on the tail of the Millennium Falcon, which I'm pretty sure is faster than a Resistance cruiser. Logic. And yes, I know it's a fantasy, but you gotta have some kind of logic there. You just can't tell me that this is something in an already established lore. Already established. You can't tell me a character just turned into a coward. That's because the writers wanted him to be that. That's because the writers wanted them to act that way. But you cannot do that with an already established character. And if there are changes in that character's psyche, You have to give a reason and explain it. Let me explain something to you about Luke Skywalker's character arc in the original trilogy. Luke Skywalker was a young boy. He wanted to join he wanted adventure. He wanted to join the academy. He wanted to join the rebel force before even before Darth Vader sent the stormtroopers to incinerate his family. You know, he already wanted that life. He was about that life from the beginning. Even though he was kind of whiny, he went through character arcs, and then we saw him mature. By Empire Strikes Back, he was a mature young general. And a lot of people say, well, they call Ray a Mary Sue because she does this and that. They do that because it's not explained. Like, okay, yes, Luke could automatically fly and shit. And I'm not mad about Ray when episode 7 with that cool scene when she's flying the Millennium Falcon. I'm not mad at Ray for being good at that because apparently force sensitive people are just good pilots. We saw it with Anakin, he was the only human that could ride a pod racer. And he could fly a fucking Naboo cruiser, a Naboo starfighter. And we saw it, with Luke. He was great as an X-wing in the Battle of Yavin. So that I'm not mad. What I'm mad about is how the fuck does she snatch a lightsaber out the snow from Kylo Ren, who was a trained Force user? And don't give me this bullshit about she downloaded her. I know this is not scripted, so I'm kind of all over the place. That she downloaded her training from Kylo when he went in her brain. Because if that's the case, then why even train Jedi? Why did any of the Jedi previously even need training? Like I'm pretty sure, like, if Rey could do that shit, then I'm pretty sure Yoda or Anakin could have did that shit at any time. I'm not. Fuck that. That was something that they wrote in a novelization to write themselves out of a plot hole, because that was a complete hole. And I would have been and I was excited at that part. The first time I seen the Force Awakens, like when I seen that the lightsaber wouldn't come to him, when the lightsaber flew out the snow, I just knew. I was like, oh, that's Luke. It's Luke Skywalker. They about to fight. And then it's Rey, because reasons. But I digress. Anyway, so Luke Skywalker, he's a great guy. Um, Even he needed help, using the Force. In Empire Strikes Back, we could go back to A New Hope. In A New Hope, he didn't know how he was gonna target that little hole in the Death Star without the tracking system. And Obi-Wan came to him, helped him, gave him that push. Use the Force, Luke. Use the Force. Nobody did that for Rey. Uh, Luke could barely lift his lightsaber out the motherfucking snow and it was like not even that far from him. He could barely do it without training. It wasn't until he had his training to where he started force choking people, using Jedi mind tricks and all that. And I will give you a piece of information. He did go back to Dagobah and do some more training after his hand got cut off in The Empire Strikes Back. But I digress. So now you go and you have Return of the Jedi. Luke already knows Vader is his father. Now, Vader, this motherfucker, has killed little children, blown up planets, massacred hundreds, if not thousands, of Jedi. He's killed a lot of people. Yet, decapitated Count Dooku. He did that. Yep, that was one. But yet, Luke, since that was his father, Luke said, I know there's still good in him. I can see the light in him. That's all he said for the entire movie. They're still good in him. I can see the light in them. I know I can bring them back. And Luke triumphs over this. And then, instead of killing his father, who was this masochistic psychopath, he throws down his lightsaber, turns to the Emperor, and says, I will never turn to the dark side. I am a Jedi, like my father before me. Complete story arc. He was always afraid of himself. He was scared of Vader. Even when he overcame the fear of the dark side, the fear of Vader. He knew he could bring his father back to the light. That's a complete story arc. So why the fuck would Rian Johnson redo the same story arc and people defend it like, oh, he only thought for a moment? Why would he would not try to kill his nephew? There's no way you're telling me that he would. You can't convince me of that. It's just contrived. He's only acting that way so that the plot can move forward in whatever way Rian Johnson wanted it to. And it's terrible. Luke Skywalker is undefeated in the dark side, and you can't tell me. And then people try to defend it and say, well, oh, why? Just because he defeated the dark side doesn't mean he doesn't still fear it after all the stuff he had to go through, or blah, blah, blah. No, he will have some fear, but it wouldn't be that much fear. Maybe he would be frustrated that the dark side is returning. Maybe he would be upset that he felt only darkness in his nephew, as people say, even though he never said that in the movie. He said he felt a strong darkness. He didn't say he only felt darkness. And if he only felt darkness, then why does Snoke constantly always talk about Kylo being pulled back to the light? The story is contradicting itself. If he saw only darkness, that wouldn't make the real Luke Skywalker, George Lucas's Luke Skywalker, that wouldn't make him try to kill his nephew in his sleep, because he knows the dark side can be overcome. As far gone as Vader had been, he knew that he could bring him back to the light. So why wouldn't he even... Why would there be a reason that he wouldn't even try it with his nephew, who was literally his only family? His only family. He's only blood related to two people in the whole entire damn universe, and he's gonna kill one of them because he might do some dark shit. Ben hadn't even done nothing yet. And then even if you let that slide, even if you let that slide, why would he run away? Literally all this is his fault, and you telling me Luke Skywalker just ran away? And then his explanation for running away and going to die is because the Jedi is going to end with me, because the Jedi must end. The Jedi's history is in failure, which again is a contradictory point, which is not true. Because I recall in the prequels, Mace Windu said, we've had peace for 1,000 generations ever since we defeated the Sith the first time. 1,000 generations sounds like a lot of damn success to me. So you can't say the Jedi have to die over two mistakes when they've been defending the galaxy for 1,000 generations with nothing but success. Because the Jedi in the prequels, they lost their way. They got too caught up in the politics of everything, and they were deceived. They were deceived. They weren't perceptive enough. They were too busy in their own minds, in their own ways, to even think. They did not think to open their mind to listen to Anakin like they should have, so that Anakin could confess his love to everyone. Instead, they had to keep it in a secret. Anakin, he couldn't go to Yoda for counsel with Padme and everything, so his fear took over with him. And Palpatine played on Anakin's fear in order to use him to destroy the Jedi. But just because that was one generation of Jedi's failure, you can't say that they have to die, because 999 generations before that, It was nothing but success. Complete success in keeping peace in the galaxy. So don't give me that bullshit, Luke Skywalker. You are not Luke Skywalker. And instead of confronting it, like he would try, like Mark Hamill said, he would try to fix it. Even if you let the slide, even if you let that part happen, okay. Oh, so he was scared of the darkness and Ben. He was almost about to kill him. Then Ben woke up and saw him and was like, what the fuck? You know, and then all this happened. Okay. We let that slide. But he would try to fix his mistake. Because literally everything that is happening in the story is Luke Skywalker's fucking fault. He's the big bad guy, if you think about it. Do you think Snoke would have been able to lead a charge like that without Kylo Ren's power? Without Kylo Ren discovering the Knights of Ren or whatever? And don't get me started on the First Order. Because the First Order is a bunch of bullshit. They lose their main base in episode 7. But in episode 8, you're trying to tell me that all of a sudden they've taken over the entire galaxy after their main super weapon got blew up? Where the fuck did they get all these there were millions of stormtroopers on Starkiller Base. Millions. Had to be. It was an entire planet. An entire planet. How the fuck are they taking... If anything, it should be a stalemate fight. See, they wrote themselves... JJ wrote Ryan in the corner, and Ryan just, like, fizzled up in the corner. He showed his writing abilities. Because... Why would you make the story take place moments after Starkiller Base gets blown up? But the whole entire First Order is just winning the goddamn battle? They didn't, in episode 7, they didn't say there were no First Order fleets anywhere. Everybody was on Starkiller Base. Except Snoke. We don't know where the fuck he was at. And then you mean to tell me Snoke's Imperial Star, that great big ass Star Destroyer, doesn't have rocket boosters on it to catch up to the Resistance cruiser? All of a sudden, the First Order is an empire again. How? Now, I read Aftermath. I did, and I've read some of the comments, and I know the so-called backstory and the contingency plan. They still haven't told us where the fuck Snoke even came from, but okay. But I do know there was contingency plan, blah blah blah. The Empire became the First Order, but it didn't say that they had all those resources in the Outer Rim. And how come nobody saw? How come was nobody surveilling where the rest of the Imperial fleet went after the Battle of Jakku? Like nobody. Like I understand that the Republic no longer had an army. When I read Aftermath. After I saw episode 7, the first book of Aftermath, I didn't read the other 2 yet. So if anybody got any more information, let me know. But I have heard like some of what happened in the other 2. But I do understand that when Mon Mothma, when they were having their first Republic, conference or whatever, she said, there was one dude who said, we need to make an army for the Republic. And Mon Mothma was like, no, because that was a mistake before. There needs to be no Republic army. We're not going to scare people into being part of this democracy. We got to be different from the Empire. There will be no army of the Republic. But before episode 8, what I was getting at would means, okay, so you're gonna give the planet, cause before the clone army even came into play in the prequels, like all the planets had their own militaries anyway. Naboo had their own military. The Chewbacca's planet, I forget the name of it, had its own military, which Chewbacca was a general in. everybody already had their own military. The clone troopers were put in when those militaries were going to be exploited. So I was assuming that every planet in the Republic would just arm themselves. They would have their own independent military. But apparently that ain't the case because in episode 8, the fucking First Order just comes in and fucks everybody up and takes up. So okay. The Republic, they just automatically did they just automatically submit to the First Order because of what happened to Star Killer Base? Cuz I don't think that would happen. The galaxy would be in outrage. Like, shouldn't they be in outrage over that? Shouldn't shouldn't that be they wouldn't just kneel down. They would be like, "Fuck these motherfuckers. They got to go." You know, we don't want to be ruled by them. They just blew up 5 planets. And then after news spread around that Star Killer Base got blew up, did they nobody has no reason to be scared of a super weapon anymore. So that was really more reason for them to fight back. Why what the fuck? And then the, they blew up Star Killer Base. Why was the Resistance fleet so fucked after that? The Resistance should have, if anything, it should have been a stalemate. And the First Order was trying to come in after just trying to, bounce back from Star Killer Base, and the Resistance is trying to bounce back from losing, that system that got blew up by Star Killer Base. It should have been something like that. That would have given you time to give some backstory. You could have set up a real good fight at the end, and you you could have just, there was so many things you could have done. That would have gave, you could have gave Ray a training arc. Maybe you could have had. I mean, I Luke Skywalker, man. You could have had anything. You Disney forgot how to make money. You don't make money off of some contrived new character who you trying to force feed to make important to the story. You trying to force feed us Ray. You just can't do that. That's why people aren't receiving it well. It's not that we don't want a strong female character, because we all love Leia. But it's just like what Luke Skywalker said. Oh, what do you expect me to do? Show up with a green lightsaber and face down the whole First Order? Yes, that's exactly what the fuck we want you to do. You're an old Jedi Master. You should have some new powers and shit. You should be able to crush a AT-AT with the Force, nigga. Yes, that's what we want you to do. So, am I just a fanboy, or do you guys see my points? Which makes me, even though I am going to see episode 9, I'm still really like shell shocked from Luke Skywalker. Like, Luke should have either went out like a G in episode 8 or be still in this movie guiding Ray. And then one more thing before I go. I know ain't nobody gonna watch this whole video, but I saw some spoilers, spoiler warning. I heard of some leaks that said there's gonna be a flashback scene where young Luke is training young Leia to be a Jedi, and she says she has to give up her Jedi training because she's pregnant with Ben Solo. And my thing is, JJ, bless your heart, JJ. Why the fuck didn't you show us this in the first fucking movie, dude? Let us know that Leia knows how to use the Force. So when she flies back in the fucking fastest cruiser in all of the galaxy, apparently, using the Force, everybody's not like, what the fuck? Or when she blows open the door with the Force, everybody's not like, what the fuck? They don't know how to make money. And Disney Star Wars is, after episode 9, it's just dead. I mean, I want to watch The Mandalorian, but I really don't want any prequel shit because I know how it turns out. It turns out like trash. So All my nerdy friends, just let me know what you think of that. Peace. Please, I really want to have a conversation about this.